Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast. I'm your host Robin, and today we're having a very special guest on the show. His name is Alex, and you might have not seen him yet, but you might have seen his videos. Well, you're not going to see him today, that's not going to change, but you are going to learn a lot more about him today. So let's get into the show.
My name is Alex Praglowski, and today I wanted to try a different style of content on this channel.
Alex Praglowski is a Canadian plane spotter that has been active on YouTube for 9 years. The vast majority of his YouTube career, Alex has mainly uploaded videos taken while he was out plane spotting. But for 2 years now, Alex also creates trip reports, and ever since, his channel has exploded to 36,000 subscribers. Yes, it's safe to say that Alex is a true AV geek. Welcome to Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast, Alex Praglowski. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Robin. It's good to be here.
How are you doing?
Not too bad. Still, we're all still in quarantine, as they say, but otherwise could be worse. Still healthy. Yeah.
Are you missing flying?
Very much, yeah. My last commercial flight was late February, London Gatwick to Calgary. But last time I was in the air was about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I went up for a flight in a Cessna 172 with a friend of mine, and we got some pictures of all the grounded aircraft over Calgary International Airport. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. How did that happen?
Well, technically, Calgary International is the busiest airport in Canada right now, purely based on number of departures. But the airspace is pretty much empty most of the time. So yeah, we set up a time with air traffic control, and we went up.
So you're just freely fly around Canada right now? Even there's no special restrictions going on there?
In general aviation, yeah, you can fly just fine as long as you're wiping stuff down and whatnot. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool, that's amazing. So you've been on YouTube almost 10 years now.
Oh God, yeah.
That's a very long time. I don't know how long YouTube actually exists, but how did you start doing this?
Well, I first joined YouTube in, I think it was 2011 or 2012, correct me if I'm wrong. But the way I started was I was plane spotting in LAX. But at the time I wasn't really taking photos. Of course, looking back on it, I wish I was, because there's so much traffic back then that just doesn't exist now. But the first video I ever uploaded was a Singapore Airlines A380 landing in LAX.
And we can actually have a look at that.
Oh no.
I'll share my screen with you. So this is your first ever upload at July 6th, 2011.
That's right.
Let's watch a short clip. What I like about this clip is that you hear people shouting and yelling. Like, the A380 back then had been flying around for a few years already, but it sounded like these people had never seen an A380 before. What was the backstory behind this?
Well, of course, I've always lived in Calgary, so I've always been accustomed to, seeing WestJets and Air Canadas and all that stuff. But going to LAX and seeing the A380, which at the time was impressive. It still is, don't get me wrong. But at the time, it's one of those things that you would never see unless you went to a different airport. So yeah, it's just really cool. And I think that was sort of the catalyst to starting plane spotting and actually making plane spotting content.
Mm-hmm. So How would you say, Alex, in 2011, we have 9 years on YouTube. Like, who is the Alex Praglowski behind Alex Praglowski Aviation?
That's a good question.
It's hard to talk about yourself.
Yeah, I'd have to talk about myself. Okay. Well, I'd have to say I'm even back then from 2011 to, I think I didn't upload much between 2011 and 2013. 2013 is when I really started to get into regular uploads. But back then I was very much still a plane spotter doing plane spotting videos. I think it was exclusively plane spotting videos and the occasional wing view ones from 2013 all the way up to 2018. It was that time frame. But even though I was sort of pivoted the content from since then, in 2018 I did my first trip reports. In 2019 I started adding my voice into the mix, and but since then, plane spotting it is still very much a part of who I am. It's still a fantastic hobby that I've had the privilege of going to tons of different airports all across the country, meeting like-minded people, hanging out with friends. So yeah, even though you see more trip reports and more infotainment type content, that's what you call that. Mm-hmm. Plane spotting it is still something I go out to the airport and do, hours each week of just taking photos instead. And to an extent, photos are a lot easier than videos. So I usually post those on Twitter. Follow me at Alex Praglowski on Twitter. No shameless plug there.
Not at all.
But yeah. So it is still very much a big part of my life. That's a nice branded mug you've got there.
Thank you.
You gonna sell merch someday?
Maybe. If there's interest. Not plugging at all.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
Okay, that was a very condensed life story. That was very quick. But so what is it that you like? How old were you when you first started plane spotting? Like, how did you actually get into aviation?
Aviation has always been a huge part of my life, because I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Calgary. I'm the child of immigrants, really. So flying was always a big part of my life. Going back to Europe to see family every other year. And I think it's always something that's been just ridiculously cool to me. It's something that's always stuck with me over the years. And even as a kid, I think I was playing flight simulator by the time I was 6 or 7.
Yeah,
like religiously. But yeah, it's just always been a big part of my life. I can't really pinpoint where it started other than just flying a lot as a kid.
What would you say is your earliest memory in aviation?
Oh, actually, yeah, I do know. It was flying Calgary to London on an Air Canada 767 and watching the sunrise out the window. That memory.
These are flying around for 30 years, so they're old.
Back then they were, I don't know, they were still in the middle of their life. They were still good airplanes. Mm-hmm. That was before the cabin refit, actually. So I do remember that. I do remember there was still the big screen in the middle for where everyone could watch it. It wasn't personalized IFE yet. But yeah, that is about my earliest memory, I think.
Mm-hmm. Is that where it all started, you'd say?
Again, really, it's really hard to pinpoint because, yeah, it's really hard to pinpoint because it's always been such a driving force in my life.
Okay, so you would say that pretty much everything in your life revolves around aviation.
For lack of a better term, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I kind of really spoiled it in the intro with a true AV geek.
Not to toot my own horn, but I would say so.
What was your first camera?
Oh, my first camera was actually, it wasn't even mine. It was the family camcorder that I shamelessly took out to the airport one day in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what that first video was. I think it might have been just a little point and shoot. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's this tiny little camcorder that I filmed with between for 2013 to 2014. I think most of those videos are with that camera. And then I began upgrading stuff over the years, and yeah.
Yeah. Cool. What's so? What does a day of plane spotting look like for you?
Right now, it involves a lot of sleeping in my car.
I didn't
Sad to
expect
say.
that answer, and I don't think a lot of how is it like. Is it a tough job?
I would. Sometimes it can be because you need to, especially if it's something rare is arriving or departing or whatever. You need to know which runway it's going to go to, especially at a big airport like Calgary, where you've got, well, 4 different runways, but only 2 that will realistically be used. Yeah, so you need a scanner. You need a scanner. You need to know how to get to the other runway quickly in case of something happening. And you know that because you drove around the airport with me.
I know, but the viewers haven't.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but there's a lot of, you need to know the airport really well,
Mm-hmm.
and you also need to. Ideally, you should be able to understand what they're saying on ATC because that is how you're going to get the information. And especially in the winter in Canada here, where it gets sometimes dangerously cold.
Yeah.
You got to bundle up. You just leave your car running, and don't get frostbite, because I think I actually did get frostbite one time. It was when the WestJet 787 was first delivered, so last year.
Mm-hmm.
So last year I had to take a glove off to fix something on the camera, and I couldn't feel a finger for a couple weeks, which is probably not good, but yeah.
So especially here in Alberta. So just so you know, for the viewers, it can get down to -40 here in winter.
Mm-hmm.
That is, so it's an easy number because it works both in Fahrenheit and Celsius.
Yeah.
That is extremely cold, and frostbite is really something that you have to pay attention for. Like I had the same thing. Like I bike to work here, even in -40, and when I didn't, yeah, when I didn't cover my my nose, it actually hurt the entire day.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So,
that's very true.
Okay,
That's
so that's plane spotting in winter, and summer must be a lot nicer. But what is it that draws you back to the airport, regardless of the temperature, every day? Like the amount of times that you can be found along the runway in Calgary is very often, I believe.
Well, generally there's something worth going for. I mean, especially in times like this, there's not much to see specifically.
Yeah.
Especially in the way of heavies, because we've lost all our transatlantic connections by now, and the cargo heavies are pretty much all that's left. But it is there is sort of a passion that you can't describe, and I think most aviation photographers will agree with me on this. But it's trying to find, even now, having been spotting in Calgary for over 7 years, there's always a certain new angle that I'd love to get of a certain thing. So yeah, it is. I think it is really just that passion that brings me back to the airport time and time again.
Mm-hmm. And how is the spotter community in Calgary and worldwide?
Spotter community in Calgary is great. We have a Facebook page with, I think, over 3,000 members.
For just Calgary?
For just Calgary, yeah, it's crazy. There are, of course, you see people out there regularly who are always documenting what there is and sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
And worldwide as well. I think that's true of a lot of different airports, because I'm a member of multiple Facebook groups, and the community is it's very tight knit. It's very tight knit, and people are always excited to share what they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a rare visitor like the Antonov 225 in Montreal a couple weeks ago, that page will just be flooded with pictures.
Yeah.
Just absolutely flooded. And I mean, social distancing aside, I know there were a lot of people there to see that. So
Oh, I bet. Have you been able to capture the Antonov yet?
no, I haven't. I haven't. And if COVID wasn't a thing, I would have flown to Montreal for that. I absolutely would have. I would
Really?
have. Well, yeah. It's because there's only one of them in the world. It's one of those things where if it's coming to your own country and you can't go see it, it hurts. Because the last time it was here was I think in Toronto in 2014. So it's not that common here in Canada at all.
I think it's been to Edmonton once.
It
Has
has.
it?
It had. Yeah, it went. Yeah, it's been to Edmonton. It was also in Calgary in 2012, but that was before I got into consistent videos. So that one hurt. That one hurts a little bit, but it was 2012. I don't think I would have made anything good of it.
I mean, so the Antonov, is it the holy grail of aviation?
What do you mean?
Like, is pretty much every spotter's dream to be able to capture that at least once?
The Antonov 225 for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it is, and I think always will be the world's largest aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that's not true. I know Stratolaunch is a thing, the big 6-engine airplane they built to launch rockets, but the Antonov 225 will still be the most, how do I put it, most regular sort of visitor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I want to get into like a bit of information for perhaps newer spotters who are just starting to go to the airport right now. What is some
Mhm.
advice that you would give to new plane spotters that you would have loved to give yourself when you started back in 2013?
Huh. Again, that's a good question because there's a lot I would say to my past self, like, hey, there's a really cool plane coming on this specific date. You better be there. Um, but in terms for newer spotters, I would say,
Yeah, in terms of like camera gear, what like as a newer spotter, you don't want to splurge on
no,
cameras,
it gets,
right? It
yeah,
can
it
get
gets,
really expensive.
yeah, exactly. It gets very expensive very quickly. Um, that's true for me as well. But for newer spotters, I think the best suggestion is just to get out there,
Mm-hmm.
because actually this is an example that applies to myself as well, because between 2013 and 2016, I think I filmed exclusively videos, and some of them are not that good, especially in the old days. But what I really wish I did was I took photos of some of them, because even regular traffic back then would be interesting now. There's a lot of stuff in those days that just doesn't exist anymore, and those old videos aren't exactly shareable. they're not good. But I wish I took photos earlier, because even just photos of regular stuff is going to be it's going to have sentimental value one day. It's going to be something that's just not flying anymore. So yeah, that's my advice. That's my advice. Just get out there, and take pictures, like within reason. Don't expect to get a picture on the runway with your iPhone, but even a cheap DSLR like a Canon T5i and a 75 to 300 millimeter lens. I think that's pretty much what every spotter starts out with. But yeah, it's if you're passionate about something, you should start. You should just go for it, and then take good enough pictures that you can look back on one day and say, like, oh yeah, I remember that was a good time.
When we're talking about sentimental value, I think one of the most important pictures for yourself is that DC-10. Do you want to explain the backstory behind that?
Yeah, the DC-10 in the profile picture. Yeah,
Yes.
that was well, technically it's still around, but that was a Canadian cargo operator called Kelowna Flightcraft Air Charter. They used to fly. They used to fly for Purolator. They flew contracted freight for Purolator here in Canada, and they flew classic aircraft, like truly classic aircraft. They flew a fleet of 4 DC-10 freighters, at least a dozen or so 727s, and today they do still fly a bunch of Convairs out in British Columbia. But those DC-10s were always so special to me because they flew up until 2015, and those were always super special to me because it's a tri-jet. It's a tri-jet heavy that you can see at my home airport. And sadly, those are long gone now. I think they've all been scrapped at this point. But that was one plane that always brought me, it always brought me a lot of joy. And so that's then to that day, that is still my profile picture.
So is that your favorite all-time picture that you've taken, or is it just a certain sentimental value that you have with that picture?
Yeah, I think it's sentimental value for sure because I know I've taken much better pictures since then. Because that was a 2015 photo, I think. So it is the sentimental value, as you said. Yeah.
Now, Calgary, something else. Calgary is, of course, where you were born. You were grown up. You still live there. Calgary is your home airport. And that means WestJet. What does WestJet mean for you?
WestJet. Well, WestJet is obviously Calgary's hometown airline. They didn't fly transatlantic in the early days, so those specific flights that I call back to were with AC, but with WestJet, going south to California every couple winters or so, it's always I have to think about that. Can you edit the part out where I'm thinking?
No, that makes it natural.
Okay. Well, going to California every couple winters or so, it was almost always with WestJet. So even now, there's still some nostalgia to it because back then they had the live TVs on all of their 737s. Except maybe the 800s, I'm not sure about that. But the 737 700s, they always had those live TVs. And so again, like I've been saying, there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of sentimental value to that. Even flying today on the 600s, which still have them. Admittedly, now they're a little outdated to say the least. But again, lots of nostalgia, lots of sentimental value with flying WestJet. And it's been really cool to watch them grow. Like in 2013, 2014, they were still very much North American airline. I think it was 2014 when they first started flying across the Atlantic from Halifax. But 2015 was the big year because 2015 was the first year was the year when they got their first 767s. So it was their first foray into wide body flying. And that was so cool to see. That was so cool for me to see. And actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Before that, in 2014 was when they added Encore. So watching WestJet from childhood, watching them fly only 737s, and then adding Q400s, which themselves were pretty interesting back then. Not so much anymore. Just from the plane spotting point of view.
Not the comfort.
Don't get me started. That's you can link the trip report where I suffered briefly. From the Q400s all the way to the 767s, and that was a huge deal. That was a huge deal because although I didn't get into trip reports quite back then, but watching 767s fly between Calgary and London, that was so special to watch. And again, going forward a few years to 2019 with the addition of the 787s. That again, another huge step for the airline. So yeah, WestJet and WestJet and Calgary are, very much intertwined. So watching them grow is another thing for me that's been really cool to watch over the years.
I see it as a transformation of a low cost airline, whatever that means in North America, especially in Canada.
Yeah, right.
To like a full service airline. Is this correct? Is this what's going on?
I would say so. Because in terms of pricing, especially, WestJet and Air Canada have always been the same pricing. I wouldn't have considered WestJet a low cost carrier. When the ticket pricing is exactly the same as the competition. So certainly watching them transform into a full service airline, that to me means they're trying to distance themselves from the, I would say, distance themselves from the low cost component of flying only 737s to becoming a nationwide airline with all these different fleet types. So, and of course the addition of the Dreamliner is a natural part of that, because you wouldn't see a low cost carrier with a business class, right? And I think there is certainly room within Canada for a second full service airline.
Yeah, I think we need it. I find it a very interesting thing what WestJet are doing, because everywhere you see airlines, and this obviously pre-quarantine, but everywhere you see airlines decreasing the service level, especially in economy, making things less comfortable, really reducing seat pitch and making it harder to gain status with the airline. Whereas
Right.
WestJet are doing the exact opposite, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They've always had very good, even in economy on the 737s. They've always been very comfortable, I would say. I flew in the back of a 737-800, I think last year, and I actually did fit. So that itself is pretty good for me. Like, I know most North American economy classes I wouldn't be able to fit in personally. But yeah, it is what you're saying. WestJet, I wouldn't say they, yeah, like you said, I wouldn't say they've gone, downhill, but I would say they are steadily improving the product that they're delivering. And even though I know some people disagree, they like having the live TVs, but going from live TV to WestJet Connect, it's another one of those improvements that they've constantly been making. And the addition of the Dreamliners with seatback TVs and hot meals, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to watch. So I think post COVID for sure, there'll definitely be, WestJet will still be, they'll still be around. That's not in question, I don't think. But I am curious to see where it's going to go for them. Yeah.
Like last year, it was announced that WestJet was going to be bought by an investor.
There's Onyx, yeah.
What does it mean for the airline?
Well, they have been trading publicly on the Toronto Stock Exchange for however many years, so it was definitely a bit of a shock. But I think now it just means they're going to be supported even better throughout this expansion plan that they have. With the addition of what was going to be Calgary to Rome this summer, and whatever else they would have planned. I think Halifax to Manchester was another one of those. But I think that just means they're in an even better position to grow and become they still are, but become an even better second airline for Canada.
Yeah. Now you would say that it is actually a good thing that they got bought out by like this big investment corporation.
I think so, because it means more money in the bank for them. I think so. Because I haven't personally noticed a difference in the quality of service or anything like that. If anything, it's just gotten better. So I don't know if I can comment on that truthfully.
So yeah, that'd be anecdotal, right?
Yeah, it's not that. I haven't noticed a noticeable, decrease or increase either way. Either way, it's still the same old WestJet. I think it's from a passenger standpoint, it's still great airline to fly with.
Yeah. Now, when WestJet first came out with the 787, you booked it. Can you explain what happened?
Huh. Yeah, that's right. In October last year, no, 2018. It was October 2018. WestJet announced the first transatlantic 787 routes, and those were Calgary to London, Calgary to Paris, and Calgary to Dublin. And I think it was the very same day that they announced it. I had booked a flight from Calgary to Dublin because I wanted to see Ireland. It was a new place for me to go. And then later that same day, I was away from my phone, and then I saw, missed call Ed Sims, who is WestJet CEO. And so I'm like, what? Excuse me, how did this happen? And essentially in the voicemail, he told me that I was the first person to book the flight between Calgary and Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I didn't even think I was that early. I think I was about 30 minutes after they opened bookings. But that was something. That was something. And then they eventually sent me a box of goodies, including bag tags and a pair of Ray-Bans, actually, with his with Ed's business card in it.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's in the Dublin trip report that I looked through that. But that was really special. That was really special.
That's so cool. Another thing WestJet related, and this was one of, I think this happened 3 years ago. I'm not share my screen with you. I hope it works immediately this time. Let me see. There you go.
Fun fact I can see that now, but fun fact for everyone watching at home, we were supposed to do this 2 weeks ago, but Robin found a more popular YouTuber instead.
Oh.
Didn't you?
Hey.
Oh, that's okay. It's an honor. It's an honor to be replaced by Jeff Brooks himself.
Yeah, Jeff, if you're seeing this, sorry, I didn't tell you this. Anyway, let's go back to WestJet. Let's have a look at this a little bit of this clip right here, from a video you uploaded in 2017.
Right.
So that is, I believe, your most popular video on your channel, isn't it?
It is. It is still to this day.
What is it? 1.5 million views?
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy.
So what happened that day?
That day I was actually out spotting to see a Sun Country 737 on a casino charter. Because that's interesting enough. It's interesting enough, worth going for. Until I saw on Flight Radar that a WestJet 767 is turning back and is doing a bunch of loops over the airport. So I think at least initially they did a 10,000 foot pass over the airport. And then I heard on the scanner again why it's so important to have one of those, that they were going to do a low pass on runway 29 for because there was something going on. There was something going on that they couldn't that they couldn't determine from inside the cockpit. And it turns out, like as you saw from that video, a wheel was missing. And I had no idea that it was happening then. I was just there to see the Sun Country. So that video there was a lot of luck involved, and then yeah, somehow it got over 1 million views, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly for a plane spotting video, you don't see that often. But I think having emergency landing in all caps doesn't quite help there, but
or maybe it does. So what is that? What does that mean for a spotter to be able to see an event like that?
It's kind of surreal. I'll be honest with you. Seeing it flying past, and you can see on the screen, there's a wheel missing. Seeing that is it becomes very surreal very quickly, because because aviation is so safe. You're used to seeing stuff, and you're used to seeing things go perfectly right every second of every day. So seeing something like that with your own eyes, and having it not be a perfectly normal event, it becomes very, very surreal very quickly. So even repositioning myself to catch the landing on the other runway, it's like, is this really happening? It is genuinely almost kind of scary in a way, but they're gonna, it's all very safe. Pilots are extremely well trained in, and actually I love that video because it's a perfect example of communication between the crew and ATC. Like I think most of that video is the ATC of them talking about what they're gonna do next, what's their plan, and ATC telling them exactly what they saw. But at the same time, just watching that unfold is genuinely, is this real? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very well done by ATC in the airport. It was very well coordinated. They trained for this. Like the fire department was right there when they landed, and they did a couple flybys to get a visual on what was going on. Yeah, I think that's a very good demonstration of why aviation is so safe, right?
Exactly. They train for this. They know exactly what to do. It's just from watching from the outsider perspective. It's whoa. It makes you think.
What other really cool things have you been able to do as a spotter? Like the name Alex Praglowski is a pretty familiar name, almost a famous name around Calgary. I think most of the people who have something to do with aviation in Calgary probably know your name. Have you been able to do some really cool things that you otherwise might have never been able to do?
To answer your question, yes. There have been a couple times, and again, one of the reasons why I really like flying with WestJet, why I really like the airline as a whole, because their staff are amazing. So on a couple of occasions, I got to join the employee event for their new airplanes, to go see it up close, and yeah, I'm tremendously grateful for that. When I started the YouTube channel, I didn't think I was just sharing airplanes, but fast forward a couple of years later, I had no idea that could be possible. And so frankly, kudos to WestJet for even acknowledging me with the old username that I had pre 2018. We don't talk about that.
Well, you can dislike your old username, but it did bring you where you are today. So it's important to acknowledge that history of your channel, even though you don't really like it.
Yeah, it did. You're right. But WestJet, they've been very good to me. They've been wonderful to work with on multiple occasions. So it was the on my channel, I think there was the 737 Max employee event where I got to see the plane up close. But that was 2017, so I was still more of a plane spotting channel, so I didn't really So I think I just uploaded a music video of looking around the plane and stuff. I could have done that a lot better now. And I think I did to an extent in 2019 when I got invited to the same thing for the Dreamliner. So, but even having an airline recognize you like that that's really cool. That is really cool. Yeah. And I'm immensely thankful to WestJet for everything they've done. Really.
I think that is very WestJet like. I would say for WestJet to do something like that, I think going back to pretty much my conversation with Jeff Brooks I had 2 weeks ago, WestJet and Delta I think are pretty similar in that regard.
I would say
finding the staff important and
I would say so. The cult exactly as Jeb was saying, the culture of WestJet and Delta are very similar. They're very similar, and especially seeing the ongoing partnership with them, I think they would make a great team in transporter flying. Yeah.
What is the reason? And this is something personal for me because I have status with KLM. What is the reason that they haven't joined SkyTeam yet?
I actually do have an answer for that, and it's because, at least from what I recall, it is because airline alliances only benefit the big guys. So not necessarily a carrier like apparently again that's just from what I recall, an airline like WestJet wouldn't really get the full advantages of the alliance. In fact, I think they might be paying more to the alliance if anything. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But it is more advantageous to the big guys. So for an airline like WestJet, I think what they've been doing is sort of aligning themselves with SkyTeam carriers, code sharing, baggage forwarding, and all that, because I think all in all, alliances are just expensive, and especially in a time like now, I don't think you're going to see them join SkyTeam. But I think what you will see is them continuing to develop these very frankly lucrative partnerships with SkyTeam Airlines, and we've seen that with Air France, especially for ongoing connections from Paris. You can book Delta flights with WestJet as well. So
KLM.
there's more to come. I think more to come. But as far as joining SkyTeam, I don't think so.
Would lounges be part of that as well? Because I believe they're building their first lounge in Calgary right now. Like
they are.
It also means that like if you're part of SkyTeam, it means that you have to open your lounge up for your partner airlines.
That's true. The new lounge here in Calgary, I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. I'm very excited. It's going to be. I think they might just blow us out. I can't.
I get what you mean. Yes.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Blow us all out of the water. That's what I'm trying to say.
Back to your channel as Alex the YouTuber, not the spotter. I want to look at your first video where you did a voiceover, and that has done a lot for your channel. So let me just share a quick clip if it works for you.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. So you uploaded this January 2019. That's just over a year ago. Let's have a quick look at for a couple seconds at this clip.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. My name is Alex Praglowski, and today I wanted to try a different style of content on this channel. The subject of today's video is why do Boeing 737-200 still fly in Canada, and is not at all inspired by the recent success of DJ's Aviation. What would possibly give you that idea? So
oh boy. Oh.
This video. Carry on.
No, you go ahead.
That was your first video doing a voiceover.
Yeah, it was.
And it has meant a lot for your channel. What happened in January last year
Well, first off, looking back at that video, it hurts to watch because the audio quality is so bad. It's just so bad, and I didn't really know what I was doing with voiceovers back then. Back now with my videos, I make sure I'm spacing out the clips evenly enough so it doesn't sound like just one big run-on sentence. And unfortunately, that video kind of does. But it's still, that video had kind of single-handedly turned the tide. I'll be honest. It's one of those videos where it's like it's a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a gamble. So I made it knowing that 737-200 still fly in Canada. That's a pretty cool thing to make a pretty cool topic to make a video on. But it exploded, quite frankly. It blew up in so many ways I didn't expect. Because I think back then I had just hit 10,000 subscribers, and in a matter of weeks, I think a week after uploading that video, I was at 15. It was that. If you look at Social Blade, it's a vertical line. It's crazy. I think I actually got somewhere within 1,000 subscribers a day.
Ooh.
One day. It was crazy. It was crazy. But it kind of opened my eyes to seeing, oh hey, this whole YouTube thing is actually, it's kind of lucrative. I could make some money off of this, right? So seeing that growth just from adding my voice to the video, it kind of inspired me to try some more things. Finally adding voiceover to the trip reports, and I think I made a couple more of those infotainment type videos. But yeah, that was a crazy couple of days.
How did you experience that? Like, I have no idea how. Like, the thing that only comes closest to that is last year when both you and Blake Edgerton, who we've seen on the podcast before,
Right.
both showed me in the video, which got me quite a bit of new subscribers. But we're talking about 100, maybe 200 new subscribers. What is 5,000 subscribers in a week? What does it feel like? Especially if you're at that point being on YouTube for 8 years, trying your hardest just to upload. Sorry,
Yeah.
Do you know how many videos you have on your channel?
Too many.
946.
Oh boy, I've spent that much of my life doing YouTube videos.
So, and then like you've been uploading for 8 years, and then suddenly it explodes. How do you experience that?
That's a good question. Back then, again, it just felt very surreal. Just to see the video picked up by the algorithm and go boom out to hundreds of thousands of people. It was kind of crazy to watch. But there was also a bit of pressure, I would say, because suddenly you've got all these new subscribers. The next thing you upload had better be really good. So of course, what did I do? I uploaded a plane spotting video the next day. The next thing I uploaded was a plane, of course. But it was really, yeah, it was indescribable. It's indescribable, and I've had a couple of videos since then. Once again, get picked up by the algorithm and just ran with it, like very much like the Condor transatlantic route video. That one blew up. That one was, yeah. It is really hard to explain because like you said, 8 years is a lot of time to be uploading YouTube videos. And suddenly watching those numbers, instead of being a steady climb, just spike. It is crazy. It is crazy. But I'm so grateful to everyone who watched the video. Aside, terrible audio aside, but it led to some really cool opportunity. It led to one really amazing opportunity, which I don't think I can talk about. But you've seen the video on my channel. Those of you who've watched will know. I randomly uploaded a video from Montreal Saint Hubert. But that's all I can really say about it.
Cool. You kind of really, well, you said it. You uploaded a spotting video the day after. Do you really notice a difference between your infotainment videos and your spotting videos and your trip report? Do you see a difference in how they do?
It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. I think people have mostly subscribed for the infotainment videos, if I'm being honest, because those ones will always do. Most of the time they'll do super well. And the trip reports are kind of mid-level, and the spotting videos are like they'll get a couple thousand. But it is, there's a big difference in those for sure, and I think it sort of shows the way that YouTube has transformed over the years. Because back in 2013, back in the old days, really, you could find spotting videos were everywhere. You could find them easily. They'd be recommended. But these days, I think the algorithm has shifted more towards longer form, higher effort content. And I think that's why those videos get pushed out more than spotting ones, really.
Is that also why you would probably maybe see, like when you started adding voice, that the algorithm perhaps picked that up?
I think what it was is, I think the algorithm picked up the fact that I think they picked up the longer watch time and the fact that people were sticking around and not just skipping to the part that they wanted to see. But that's kind of the power of voiceover content. It's not so easy to skip ahead, right? If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think it's voiceover necessarily, because I did upload text trip reports all throughout 2018, and some of them did do okay. But it's for infotainment videos like that where a voiceover is an absolute necessity. So, yeah.
Like, you also added a little bit of music in one of your recent trip reports. Are you experimenting something new?
I'm experimenting with that a little bit. Yeah. We'll see where it goes, because in that one I had a lot of clips that I didn't really want to throw away just for the sake of keeping the video shorter. So I wanted to try and make a little montage before the takeoff and after takeoff, and then before the landing. So maybe I'll keep doing that. It depends how much footage these older trip reports have, because that, of course, that's all anyone can upload right now.
Yeah. Do you still have a good backlog of videos you can still upload, even though you're not able to fly right now?
I do, yeah. I have about a dozen trip reports that I haven't put together. Yeah. That's the thing. I fly a lot, but I don't necessarily have that much time to edit them. Mm-hmm. So I will usually try to bunch four or five different flights into a different trip, and then spread them, like I said in that little channel update bit, just spread them out over however long. And it turns out now is a great time to be going through the backlog.
You know what the best part is of not showing your face if you're making videos? Like, if you show your face, people can actually see that you're recording 4 videos in a day.
Well, that's true. That's true. All I have to do is do a different voiceover each time. That's a very good point.
So at least you have that advantage.
Yeah.
You also tapped into a different type of transportation in recently. And I'm gonna share a really short clip here if you can see the screen.
Yes, it worked for first time.
Hey. We'll have a quick look at this, a short clip of this trip report that you uploaded the day before yesterday. At least now we're recording.
This locomotive is a General Electric P42 DC with a top speed of 160 kilometers an hour, and VIA has 21 of these units in their fleet.
Trains.
Trains, yeah. What's this heresy? As Vicarious Voyager said in the comments.
Why did you decide to do a train trip report?
I just wanted to try something new, because as I said in the video, we don't have train service of any kind in Western Canada. So I needed to get from Toronto to London, Ontario, and yeah, like I said in the video, instead of subjecting myself to the Dash 8, I wanted to try Via Rail, because it is something that I've never experienced personally. And train trip reports do surprisingly well. If you see on larger channels like Paul Lucas and Noel Phillips, they do surprisingly well. So I thought this was worth a try.
Yeah. And how did it do in the analytics?
Sorry?
How did it do in the analytics? How did the stats look of the video?
Frankly, views are pretty down right now for I think for every aviation YouTuber. You can see that in the WestJet video as well. But the comments, the reception has been fantastic. It's been fantastic. I think it's over 100 comments right now. Just tapping into a new market of video is really cool. It's really cool, and it's quite humbling to see how much my audience really enjoyed seeing that. So, and you know what, something I don't say often enough is that I have the best audience. So if I upload something, let's say risky, something risky like or new, like very much like the 737-200 trip report, the infotainment video, something like that, or even the train video, people will comment. People will give constructive criticism. They will say, I really like this. This brings back so many memories, and that's something I really love to read. I don't say it often enough, but I am really thankful for all of my subscribers, and especially for all the new ones that came along after the 737-200. So, yeah, reception has been wonderful. I really like reading the comments on that video. It's been really nice.
That is so cool. And that is a great segue into the segment for questions from the audience. Like each week, with every guest on the show, I announce them all on my Twitter and my Facebook, Twitter and Instagram account. I allow you to send in questions for the next guest. So do make sure that you follow me on Instagram and Twitter to be the first one to know who is going to be the next guest on the podcast. I've asked you to send in questions for Alex as well, and we've had a lot. Thank you all for sending them.
How many
Alex?
questions? I'm afraid.
Okay, well, I didn't flood my inbox, but we have a good, I'd say 12, a dozen. Sound like a dozen, yeah.
Okay, that's manageable. I was afraid, because on my story, when I shared it on my story, there were like, I think 150 sticker taps. So I'm like, oh no, what have I done?
Well, I did get the odd question about why you didn't show your face.
Of course, that's bound to happen.
But we're not going to answer that question today. But the first question comes from n.reader14, and he's asking, what sparked your interest in aviation, and what is your favorite part of being an Ave geek?
Like I said earlier in the podcast, it is hard to pinpoint, because it's always been a big part of my life. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question?
What's your favorite part of being an Ave geek?
Oh, favorite part. Kind of all of it. All of it. I love being able to watch. I love being a part of it. Even just in the way that I contribute photos and videos of flying on aircraft. But yeah, it's a genuine passion of mine, and I love being a part of it wherever I can.
Cool. I am probably going to mispronounce this name. So
no worse than my last name.
You know how many times the first time I mentioned you in my trip report, I think it was the Dornier 328 for the
That's
CMA.
right.
You know how many times I re-recorded your name? I still have it somewhere on my computer.
Oh boy.
I do think I do it properly now. Anyway, Carl Kurnia one is asking you, what's the oldest plane you've ever flown on?
Oldest plane I've ever flown on. I think it would have to be. Oh, I think I have it written down somewhere, but I think it's between either the 737-200 and the Dash 7. I actually think the Dash 7 I flew was slightly younger, but yeah, the 737-200 is definitely the oldest plane I've flown. I think the specific one that I've flown, I think 4 times now, is CGOPW, and that one I think that one turns 40 this year. So it's an old plane for sure, but I love flying it.
Yet this question actually reminded me of what are they in Vancouver? The float planes. They're 60 years old. Harbor Air.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. That's something.
Yeah. That is ridiculous, and they don't even look that old. Pretty cool. Alex, if next time you're in Vancouver, you got to try them.
I will, absolutely. I mean, the West Coast is the first place I'm going after we can travel again.
Salman is asking you, what's your favorite aircraft and favorite routes to fly?
My favorite aircraft is tough to say, but I think I'd have to go with the 747. We only get the cargo versions here in Calgary, but anytime they show up in daylight, it's an absolute delight to see them. It is the queen of the skies, of course, and yeah, there's just something about it. Now, of course, I haven't flown nearly as many 747s as I should have. I've only ever flown the 747-8 in 2014.
Lufthansa?
Yeah, it was Lufthansa. It was Frankfurt to Chicago. I wish I was making trip reports back then, right? Yeah, that's the only one I've actually flown. So, post all of this, I need to fly a more 747s.
Yeah, I don't
and favorite route, I forgot to answer that. I think Calgary to Vancouver for sure, because it's just long enough for a snack service. The views outside are gorgeous on a good day, and it is long enough that you don't get bored quickly, especially with the Rockies below you, and that arrival into Vancouver is incredible.
Yeah, it's actually a rule I have for myself. I don't want to fly over the Rockies in nighttime. So if you ever want to fly to Vancouver from out east, make sure you're flying a day flight, because there's some of the prettiest things I've ever seen. Like, Vancouver is my favorite approach.
Well, I couldn't agree more. In that Air Canada A320 video, actually while flying it, if you're looking outside, obviously you can see more than a camera could. So even seeing the Rockies like lit up by the moonlight is incredible. But of course, that would never come across on a little camcorder or GoPro or anything like that. So you can't share it. But yeah, it's magical, honestly.
Yeah, especially if you're using an old iPhone 6s that I used to use most of the times I've posted trip reports.
Right.
I
remember.
Yes. Cars Calgary is asking, can we still expect Eurowings to start flying from Calgary to Frankfurt?
Actually, I think I don't think I've. I think they might have postponed that route. Yeah, I think they officially postponed that route until maybe next year. I'm not sure if it will actually launch, which is a shame, because it's a new airline to see in Calgary, but especially post COVID, it's hard to see international travel rebounding quickly. So I hate to I hate to not be optimistic, but I don't think they're going to come back, which is a shame. Then again, I did genuinely look at booking them, and the prices were not at all attractive for a Canadian. So, yeah,
It's not like travel is cheap here, anyways.
oh, not at all.
Calgary Jets is asking, Alex, in the near future, what is your career choice? On YouTube, in aviation, or somewhere else?
That's a good question. That's a good question because, a lot of people expect YouTubers to be doing this full time. They don't think of the outside life.
Wait, you have a life?
Wow, thanks. Well, you have to call me out like that, Robin. Ouch.
Anyway, carry on.
How do we recover from this? Oh, okay. Casual roast from Robin there, man.
And anyway, for anyone who doesn't know, Alex and I are actually very good friends. we talk to each other outside of the podcast.
Yeah, he's not just flaming an interviewee. Oh boy. Okay. I forgot the question. What's the question again?
What's your career choice? YouTube, aviation,
Right.
or somewhere else?
Right. So for the people that do YouTube full time, like I think Paul Lucas and Noel Phillips again, they do it. They do it well enough. Their channels are big enough so that they could actually support themselves. But full time on YouTube is a little bit risky because even right now, like we're seeing with views being depressed and ad revenue kind of going downhill as well because no companies are buying ads right now. I think YouTube itself is not that stable a platform for a channel, especially my size, to make a living and support myself. So in the future, I am planning to go into a career in aviation as something else. Not sure what yet, but because YouTube's been such a big part of my life, I think it'll stay that way. I think I love sharing the trip reports. I love sharing my flying experiences and those little nuggets of Canadian aviation that are worth making infotainment videos about. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think the next question pretty much ties into that. That's by Nathaniel's Photography 88. He's asking, do you want to be a pilot? And another question that ties into that as well. Josh Waddle, he's asking, if you're interested in aviation, would you consider training for your PPL? So they're pretty similar questions.
I am actually working on my PPL right now. The eventual career goal is to be a pilot for sure, because that is a dream of mine, to be honest. Unfortunately, again, coronavirus is kind of throwing a wrench into those plans. So I've got to find some alternatives while flight schools are shut down. But that is where I'm thinking of going. Yeah.
Cool. Most nerdy eighth geek is asking, WestJet or Air Canada?
Canadian North.
Good answer.
I don't. No, see. I don't like choosing between. I don't like having to choose one or the other because both airlines are great in their own respect. WestJet domestically, WestJet Transporter is fantastic. Air Canada on a newer airplane, not like the A320s, you don't like as much. But you've made that abundantly clear to me.
not only to you, I just happened to quietly mention it in my newest video.
Well, that's true. You don't necessarily have the nostalgia element of them like I do. Now, yeah, again, I don't really like choosing between the two of them because, again, they're great airlines in their own respect. And I think it's, if you ever say, favorite airlines or least favorite airlines, you're always going to offend someone. So I think my answer to that is Canadian North.
Fair enough. CF 188 Proud is asking, has he seen a firefighting plane?
Have I seen what? I have seen them flying. There's a company called Airspray in Red Deer, about 90 minutes drive north of Calgary, who fly Lockheed Electras. So I've seen them. I've seen them flying on a couple of occasions, but not actually dropping fire retardant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for people who don't know much about Alberta, we've had a couple really bad wildfires here a couple years ago in Fort McMurray. So firefighting here in Alberta has been really, it's a really big part of the province.
That's true, and in BC as well. It's
BC.
It's all the heavily forested regions that are at risk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alex D0612 is asking, how many airlines have you ridden on?
I have to count them now. Let's see: WestJet, Air Canada, Pacific Coastal, Flair, Swoop, Air Transat. This is a particularly dull segment of just counting airlines. Central Mountain Air, Air Tindy. I don't know. It's at least a dozen, if not 2 dozen. So I think because that's not including European carriers like there's also European carriers like Ryanair, LOT, Lufthansa, the U.S. carriers like Delta and United. So it's I wish I had a specific number for you, but it's at least more than 15.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. If I come to think about it, I wouldn't even.
Exactly. That I don't know this off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, it's always my goal to try out new airlines. Like when you're just trying to do a trip report in a weekend, you're not going to go to another country. Well, yeah, America, but like go to Mexico and try out Volaris, for instance. You don't do that in a weekend. So
you always want to try a new airline, but I don't have the number. I don't have a specific number off the top of my head.
Yeah. Toronto Model Airport is asking, how many airports have you been to?
Again.
I swear I didn't. I didn't plan this, all right?
Let's try Canadian airports. So going west to east, Victoria, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, Yellowknife, Winnipeg, Toronto, Montreal. I'm missing a few, but it's at least 9 or 10 Canadian airports. And then that's something I want to work on. That's something I want to work on after. And Whitehorse. I forgot about Whitehorse. So that is 10 easily. But that is something I want to work on after. Again, I keep saying it after the world is not a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see more of Canada, particularly the Maritimes. I think there's a lot of cool stuff out there that I want to try out.
Cool. And then last question is from Adam Broughton 16. What's your most memorable flight experience?
Most memorable flight experience. Probably the Air Tindy -7. Probably that charter flight we did to with a bunch of aviation enthusiasts from Vancouver to Abbotsford. That one was so cool. That one was a ridiculously cool flight because the pilots purposely tried to stretch it out for us. We went over downtown Vancouver, looping around over the city and then landing in Abbotsford. But also utilizing the -7's performance. So we did full power takeoff, STOL landing, stopping in like 1,000 feet. It's crazy. That was a lot of fun to be on. So yeah, I think I would have to say that one for sure.
So what's so special about the Dash 7? I think everybody knows the Dash 8. What's special about the Dash 7?
Well, the Dash 7 was built in. See, I'm just going off the script from the video I made, but it was made before the Dash 8 when people thought STOL, short takeoff or and landing, was going to be a huge part of the future. So de Havilland Canada made the Dash 7 with that in mind. So it's got four engines, 45 degrees of flaps. The performance on that plane is amazing. So it can stop, it can take off in, again, super short distances, land in super short distances. But eventually people realize that the Dash 8 with only two engines is much more profitable, much less expensive to run. So it now serves very niche routes in northern Canada and I think in Africa as well. I think the United Nations has a few, but yeah. Oh, and Transport Canada, they have one as well.
Cool. And they have 4 props, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, 4 props. You don't see that on a passenger airplane, no less.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then the last part that you have been waiting for, and while I explain what is going to happen, let me share my screen if that works.
Yes,
it works in one go. Anyway, like we've done with all the podcasts so far, at the end of each podcast we have a quick challenge where we are going to test the knowledge from the guest with how many aircraft they can identify based on a picture. And today I was being helped by a fellow trip reporter and plane spotter, Daniel Sender, who has picked, cropped, and sent me the pictures. So any pictures that you're going to see here, I had nothing to do with. I've seen him, but Daniel, when I messaged him, he was like,
oh man.
So yeah, if it's too difficult, not my fault.
All right.
So we have 1 minute, and in 1 minute, Alex has to identify as many aircraft as he can. And currently, Billy Gilbert from Gilbert Travels is still leading the leaderboard with 12 on top of my head, or 13.
I think it's 13.
Yeah, I think it's 13.
I think it's 13. I've watched the old podcast to prepare.
Oh, okay. So you know what's coming then.
Yep.
So let's see if Alex can do better than 13. Alex, how confident are you?
Relatively so. I mean, again plane spotting and identifying aircraft has been a big part of my life. So let's see how much Daniel trips me up here.
I'm actually gonna get a pen. So we only have 28 pictures. So if you're too fast, we're gonna run out.
All right. Is that a challenge, Robin?
I don't know.
All right. Good.
So when you're ready, I'm gonna turn on the timer and we're gonna start.
Yeah, let's go.
Cool.
737 Max. 737-800. 787-9.
Yep.
757.
Yes.
747-400.
Correct.
747-8.
Correct.
KC-10.
Wow.
A330.
Yep.
A350.
Correct.
A380.
Yep.
A380 again.
Yep.
Embraer 175.
Correct.
A320 Neo. A321 Neo. A321 Neo.
Correct. Yes.
A350
Yep.
1000. 737 800.
Yep.
A320.
Time.
Oh, how many was that?
You're at 15. Congratulations. Yes! You're the new leader.
Oh.
Well done, Alex.
Nice. Thanks for that, Daniel. The creative cropping. Trying to trip me up like that.
Well, he's
Wow.
also mentioned that he would like to be on the podcast. So,
Oh, you should have him on. You should
yeah.
absolutely have him on.
So, by the time it's his turn to be naming the plane, I'll contact you.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Cool. And with that, we're at the end of the podcast. Alex, how did you like it?
Well, it's a lot of fun. Admittedly, I don't think the internet has seen a lot of unscripted Alex. So, hopefully this was a nice sort of behind the scenes look. And yeah, go subscribe to Robin.
Thank you very much. Who would you like to nominate for a next episode?
Well, you should definitely have Daniel Sander on for sure. But I think another interesting one would be QFS Aviation. The dude just bought, like, I think he bought an old American MD-80 or multiple ones. I'm not even sure, but there's got to be a good story to tell there. So him.
I think I would love to have Quentin on the show. That would be a lot of fun. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Alex, for being on the podcast today. I had a lot of fun. I hope that you had a lot of fun watching it today. Next week we're gonna be back with a trip report, which happens to be on a train. Not at all inspired by someone, Alex. To be fair, yeah. I got a cheap airfare from London for $30, and I was also going to Toronto. How are you gonna get from Toronto to London? Might as well take a train. So that's gonna be on the channel next week. It's also unfortunately going to be my last trip report for a while because obviously we cannot get into the air right now, and I'm out of footage. So we'll probably gonna see a couple more podcasts coming up. I know we're having a lot of interesting guests coming up. Alex, thank you very much for joining us today. And
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we'll see you next week. Thank you and goodbye.